Yeah, I'm ready.
So it's just a perfect bodyboarding way.
Lastimó la cara y los dientes me chirriaron.
Didn't even jump off my board. I just tried to choke Jason Brown.
The windpipe is big dream.
Hit the lip, you're going into the flats.
No, I know I could go bigger than that, and I know what I can do.
Hey, what's up? This is Manny Vargas, and we're going to open up volumes of stories of bodyboarders just like you. This is Boog Life. As I mentioned, this is part 2 of the Tom Morey interview, and part 2 is a little different than I think you might expect. In fact, I made a deal. He wanted to get stuff off his chest and have it somewhere documented in exchange for me talking about, or him talking about the invention of the bodyboard. So part 1 was that. Part 2, what you're about to hear, is Tom Morey, the inventor. He had a few things on his mind. He has a lot of things on his mind, but he talked about 3 things as an inventor, what he had going on in his mind. One of which is a new mathematic symbol system. Another thing that we talked about was a new foil system. And you know what? There's one more thing. Why don't we get into it right now? This is Tom Morey, the inventor. So when I asked the question earlier, is your mind still going? I wanted to finish that. I never got a chance to finish that. Is your mind still going with ideas that keep coming out on paper?
Of course.
Out of those ideas, what has been one of your favorites, or a list of your top 3 favorite ideas, or your top 3 projects?
Okay, the top interesting project thing to me is based on the it's an impeller, the impeller, and use of the impeller for propulsion, and it goes like this. During the late 1800s, if you'll go on the internet and you look up circular flying craft and you look up Nazi UFOs or German flying saucers, and you open your mind, you don't look with you certainly you have skepticism, and you'll see a lot of pictures that are dumb or pretty or really well posed and poised, all that. But you look at some of the images that were captured, and you just look up UFOs and you look up crop circles. My God, I don't know how many of your listeners know what a crop circle is. You need to know about crop circles. But you look at those planes, the flying devices, they're circular flying devices back in the years before 1922, we'll say. I'll just pick some number there. That fly on the basic principles of physics. Now, we think that if something's going to leave the atmosphere, that it's got to be a rocket. And we think that if it's got to fly, of course it's got to have wings, because birds have wings and flying fish have wings. And then they're going to be lighter than air so that they can float up and so forth. But there's a basic principle that I'm very close to, because I've been in plastics a lot, plastic business at Douglas Aircraft and at Boeing Aircraft, where we make high-strength composite parts, and to do that, you pull vacuum on your laminate, on your materials and resins that are put together and where you want them, and then they're squashed, by the air pressure that occurs when you suck the air out of the bag that the thing is in, and you also coat the thing that you're going to pressurize, cloak it in a fabric, like a towel or cotton, whatever, so that the air can get out. And you look at this thing that you're used to seeing under ambient pressure. Ambient is the term for just regular pressure. And you look at it under vacuum, and you're stunned by how compressed everything is just from the air pressure. We're at the, as I said earlier, we're at the bottom of an 80-mile deep ocean of atmosphere. We are literally bottom dwellers and bottom feeders. We grow our food here on the bottom of the ocean. If we get rid of the air that's directly above something, it's the thing there, if you could get rid of the air pressure directly above it, it's got to lift up into that temporarily, depending on how much air you get out and how quickly you get it out. It's going to lift up into it. Now, the airplane wing has a shape such that the leading edge of the wing is always, of course, bumping into the air that's to its front, but that air that it bumps into is reflected back. The air that is directly to its front is directly bumped back.
Yeah.
But the air that's a little above that is redirected back and up.
Mm-hmm.
And if the wing has more curvature on the top than on the bottom, the next air that is bumped into doesn't bump into the wing so much because the other air that's exited gets in its way. And then, so this process, the next air, so by the time you're up a pretty good distance above your shape, I'm pretending a shape, let's like this or something.
Yeah.
By the time you get up above it, there's very little air pressure at all. Now, it's not explained like that in high school physics, and it's not explained like that in college physics. And I'm explaining it now for the first time publicly. This is what I see. This is how I see as the main factor. It's from looking at the diagrams that are published of the result of vacuum, the results of where the lift is on different foils. Okay.
What's the effect, the Kawanda effect?
Well, the Kawanda effect is Henry Kawanda was a major factor in aviation that's been just passed over. His contributions are monumental and have been taken underground and are used, from my standpoint, and by the major governments of the world to build what we call flying saucers, and which to throw the consciousness of the public off track has been put in with creatures from outer space or something. No, these are straight ahead physics principles that were developed back before 1900. And Henry Kawanda was a guy that the Wright brothers built their first airplane in 1907. And you can look it up and you can see what it looks like. It doesn't look like today's airplanes. Henry Kawanda built his first airplane in Romania in 1910. And it looks like airplanes today look. It has long wings and a fuselage like regular. I'm talking not jet airplanes at this point. But then he powered it, instead of powering it with a propeller, he powered it with a thing called an impeller. You guys are not familiar with that term, but you're all familiar, even your girlfriends are familiar with the use of what an impeller is. In your hair dryer, there's a thing that goes around that knocks the wind away from the container that's there. The air is drawn in, and it's flung out. It's flung out radially, and more air is drawn in there. And Kawanda used a thing like that on the front of his airplane, and he used a tapered shape, and he tapered the front of the airplane very much like a lampshade or a trash can. Trash can was small at the bottom and bigger here. Okay. Lampshade smaller and bigger. You put that in the front of the airplane and suck air in. You have a paddle in there that's just getting rid of the air that's in there. It could be any kind of a paddle that will stir up the air, and the air will be thrown away. And the air is thrown away because it's bouncing off the tapered sides. As it pushes against the tapered side, it drives that forward. So his plane was like that. Not only was it built like that, but he then had the smart idea, a brilliant guy, Romanian. He had the bright idea of adding fuel because the air is getting compressed by his impeller, and then lighting it, and created the first jet engine. Well, there was no such, it was so far out, it was laughable and disparaged, and he was disparaged because, like I would have done, he only had wood to build the airplane with. There was no aluminum airplanes back in the turn of that century.
Yeah.
And his wooden airplane caught on fire. And it only flew 50 feet, and he was able to get out with his life and only got burned. But he went on from 1907 through the teen year, 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. This guy lived to be my age and more probably, but definitely my age. And his drawings are all there on the internet right now. You can look them up and see all his stuff. But it's too much for anybody to look up anything because it's all being handled to him, and by the time they look at it, they want to drink another soda pop or a beer or eat something, and they've got a girlfriend or boyfriend, and they've got to miss an event. And but there are guys and gals who are sincerely interested in this, and that hopefully will get inspired a little bit by what we're saying here.
So the flying saucer, quote unquote, idea was
Henry Kawanda's method was one of the ways it was used to basically get rid of the air that's holding us down, and that's accomplished by spinning not a propeller like the helicopter, but over a disc shape, we'll call it.
Yeah.
A thing that's just paddles that are flat-wise, that are not tapered, they're not tilted. They're just vertical paddles so that the air that's above it is knocked off. Mm-hmm. If you have a shape like that, you'll spin air, throw the air out that's above it, and the air below it will tend to lift it. You can also do the same thing under this hat, under this shape, mm-hmm. and that air will impinge on the underside and lift. And you can do both things together. Furthermore, on the early ships, they did one or two of these things, and then once the air is flung out, it comes in contact with the static pressure that's in the air right there, right outside, and it bounces back. It moves back, and it moves back and causes a high pressure underneath. So these early flying saucers were shaped like my drummer hi-hat, those cymbals that come together. Mm-hmm. And the air that would come out then is coming back and lifting the bottom up. So you got air lifting the bottom, you got air on the underside of the top lifting that, and you got air over the whole top, causing a vacuum up there. So you got terrific leverage. And these crafts were probably very successful, but they didn't have aluminum. They had machinery and they had steel. So if you look at some of the early flying craft that you can see before they're taken off the internet, and I suggest that anybody that's interested in this start making copies of what's cool, because it's going to get taken away. Because those who have are not going to want those who don't have to have it. That's just the nature of things.
So you think that there is this technology there, and it's not offered to the public. Instead, these governments are keeping it
absolutely
on the wraps.
Like Tom has done a lot of research research in these other fields of alternative energy and vehicles. And he has gone and traveled to other states and other countries where people have come up with different kinds of designs that are alternative energy and vehicles.
Yep.
And most of those people, the governments come in, they buy up their patents, they bury them in a box. You know, we have movies of certain kinds of things like that. And this is reality. But the thing about Tom, he's talking about it now, but most of our married life of 47 years, he has worked on these and built and put these parts together. And he and his, one of our sons, has worked on some models, but he's at a stage now, he's seeking the help of others to help him build a smaller model, because at some point somebody's going to grab onto these and bring this back into to today's methodologies and give us these other alternatives. Tom talks about, I don't want to be on the freeway. I don't want to be having to inch my way forward in today's world. And what an impeller, if you have that on your vehicle, you can come up over the cars and go over there and come down someplace else. So more people need to think of how do we change the kinds of vehicles and movement that we have on the planet. So
And there are some great strides being made. There's a company out of Germany that's making a very cool vertical takeoff and landing thing with electric motors. It's got 6 motors on it, and it's quiet. It's got a good range, and it's very clever. So there's a lot of people working on these things.
And what's stopping the government? The government's stopping them. I mean,
I'll tell you what's stopping them.
Yeah.
How is your computer?
How is it?
Mm-hmm.
I love my computer. Well, it's the work computer, but I do love it.
Does it need to be backed up? And do you need a new? Did you just now get a new system or upgrade? And
Yes.
does the new upgrade actually work, or are there some problems in it?
There's always problems when there's updates.
Right. So then picture the IRS computers and the Air Force computers, and picture all these computers and all the flaws that there are. And that's why things are they go slow, because it's all gotten very complex.
Okay. All right. So it's they're baby steps with the corrections along the way.
Baby steps, good.
Okay, so back to the ideas, your top 3 ideas. So an impeller is one. A couple more ideas.
Sure.
That
I want to tell you, Manny, that I'm having a terrific time. I'm really enjoying your ability and what you're doing. I think it's great.
Well, I'm enjoying it too.
Good.
In fact, I'll tell you a quick thing right now is I go to bed and I'll throw on YouTube, and YouTube is getting smarter as time goes on, and they know what I've watched, and they have these recommendations, and you know what? I have no problem seeing their algorithms go to use and tell me what I would enjoy.
Oh, wow.
And I'll press the button, and these are the things that I'm watching at night is aliens, true or false, UFOs, what's out there, what are people saying, and also ancient civilizations and some of the things that they have uncovered and trying to explain in modern terminology. But I mean, these are some very interesting things, and some of the things you're saying are, I'm curious and I'm interested. So
look at crop circles also.
Yep, those are.
I don't mean glance at them, but there's some sites where you can see a lot of them, and you just put them on there so you can get a bunch of pictures of them and get them so they're coming like this, the next one and the next one.
Yeah.
And then you'll find yourself being transformed by the stunning compositions and the cleverness,
intricacies.
and that's another thing. Somebody's got to throw doubt in there. Well, those are not made by from outer space. Those are people here, and they've proved it, and they've got guys with boards and ropes and things like that.
Yep.
And I grew up in Laguna. I grew up with artists, and I know world-class artists. I know 1,000 artists, and none of them, most of them are not going to go trample over somebody else's field. There's more sensitive people. They're not going to hoax. They're not into hoaxing somebody.
Yeah.
They're into figuring out stuff. And the designs that you see when you look at, if you study crop circles, if you can, if you can get some kind of a websites that tell you about them and tell you what's going on and things, and you look at some of the cleverness of these deals, where there's one that I remember where there's some spherical, circular things, and going like this. They're going like, I gotta, like that, and like this, and like that, and like that, and like that. And then you look at it, but then you look at it from the another standpoint, and it's like an Escher drawing. You see this other three-dimensionality that's it's been depicted. There's very clever. They're very revealing. Now, I had heard that there was a crop circle in Laguna Canyon, and I went out there 20 years ago, and up by those two little ponds on the road that goes out Laguna Canyon, there it was. It was crude, and it was compelling. It had no place there at all. There's no reason for it to be there. There's nobody in his right mind who's got to go out to this particular location and make this thing. I mean, from my own reasoning,
Yeah.
There's no glory in it, then there's not that much. It wasn't that comprehensive. And it makes me think, well, probably there are greater intelligences than ours, and there are certainly youthful versions of that. There is a proof for aliens. There is a proof for greater intelligence, and the proof goes like this. It's about probability. Is it probable or improbable that we are the only relatively smart beings in the entire universe? What are the chances statistically?
None.
No, the chances are 1 in infinity. Now, therefore, it is probable that there are other beings that have greater intelligence. And you take that same kind of thinking, and you can do quite a bit with it. I'm phased out on it there. I've lost my perspective.
No, but I think what we were talking about were the three experiments or three projects.
You're very good. You're very much on top.
I want to bring us back to something that.
Sure.
Again, I'm gonna bring in Scotty Carter, the bodyboarder I talked to this morning and videographer, but he said something which you mentioned early in the interview too, is we're all connected, and he said the same thing, where there was a laser shot through a bottle of Coca-Cola, and on the outside, when it exited the bottle, there was waves that were caught on film, and this was a trillion 3 trillion frames per second, and it was able to slow it down, and how the light, when seen as traveling like a particle, it essentially is saying that we're all connected. That's what it comes down to. And you mentioned something earlier today that we were all, just going with a rhythm, that everything is all connected, whether it's magnetic fields or light fields, anything that is seen with the naked eye or not seen. We are just all connected in one way or another.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's pretty awesome to be able to go from one interview to another, not even just talking about what each other talk to, and you guys are talking about the same thing. And
there's a little phrase: the Earth is one country.
Yeah.
And mankind, or humankind, is its citizens. And we are all, you know, we're all humans, and that we come from a greater source, and we're here to try to understand and reflect what that source is. And we have this whole planet full of all kinds of information that we reflect on, be it the ocean down to the, you know, looking through the microscope and seeing, wow, look at those patterns. Oh, those patterns. Everything is connected, you know, and we're sort of at a stage where things seem to be imploding, but in that process, then we discover that we are all we're here for a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at this very small little spot of this is my country, or this is I'm this or you're that. And we're sort of on the edge of perhaps the beginning of the maturity of mankind.
I mean, it's one of those things that we won't know until it's there. It's like, okay, well, I have this project that I can't get to because the things I need to finish it aren't here. Well, that is, you know, that is the future that we're waiting for, and
we need to work on that.
And
future.
we need to work
and
on
we
it.
have to
So
put
the second-
down all these little teeny things of barriers, and we need to make our more of a membrane of things that can come in and go out.
And I think that's going to come.
Yeah, definitely.
So
It's gonna come.
another project that's occupied a lot of my.
Let me turn this microphone over to you a little bit closer.
Another topic that has occupied a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I read in the Baha'i teachings about the need on the planet to do two things that have to do with language. One is to choose somehow from existing languages a secondary language so that we can all speak together, because we got hundreds of languages.
Oh, that would be amazing.
And then in time, and this gentleman, this wonderful poetic guy that's in prison with his family in prison and or exile for 40 years with gorgeous penmanship and all this stuff. He says, he uses the word or, I don't know, develop or create a universal language. Now, he didn't say world, he said universal. And he, in his writings, he recognizes the probability of he doesn't talk about probabilities, he just tells us the existence of entities galore throughout the universe. That we're just local guys here, you know.
Yeah.
He does it in a very wonderful way. So I thought, my God, I'd like to do that. I think I could do something. I have a degree in mathematics, and I was bummed out when I asked one of my professors at the junior level or something, my senior year probably, about what are some of the directions that I could take in mathematics that wouldn't be about more and more complexity, but would be along the lines of greater and greater simplicity. And he just said, no, there aren't any. And it was such a short-sighted, God, it just burned me. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know. So I thought, okay. Well, so then there's a great science fiction writer. You probably know Robert Heinlein. Robert Heinlein wrote Stranger in a Strange Land, and he wrote scores of great sci-fi books for youth. And but in Stranger in a Strange Land, which was his big one, he has a guy who comes back from a project. He's the offspring of the captain and the chick on this spacecraft, and he's a gringo. He's American. He's a human, and he's raised by the Martians. And he comes back here. Michael Valentine Smith is the guy, you know. And when he gets back here, he has learned the Martians have taught him universal language. They've taught him true speech. And because he's learned true speech, he has capabilities beyond our capabilities, which we consider hocus pocus, ability to disappear, to shrink down to practically nothing, all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
So I thought, based on those two things, I started thinking, okay, so I'm going to assume, which is what I learned in math. I didn't learn too many things, but I learned it's important to make assumptions. So I'm going to assume that there exists tentatively a universal language, that is a language that would be suitable for all beings, human, whether on this planet or from other parts of the universe. And that it does exist, it's just not expressed. It's just not discovered yet. And then I thought, okay, well, there's all these versions of universal language. You can speak and listen, you can dance and you read the motions. But I'm going to just tackle something because I remember from my church experiences as a kid, Reverend Gregory saying it is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. This is a quote someplace from the Bible. It's a very pertinent quote, so I decided, okay, I'm going to try and find just something that could be a universal symbol. Oh boy, I'm starting to get excited.
Yeah.
So then I thought, okay, if there was, let's just take like writing on the chalkboard, depicting in a sign on the chalkboard. If I go like that, somebody got to know what that is. Or if you draw a shape like an arrow, we kind of get that. So what is there that could be a symbol, a universal symbol, a marking of a universal alphabet.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, I do know what one symbol should be. That symbol should be a simple symbol, easily identifiable by everybody with any capability in that field, and easily, it should have at least those two characteristics. And so what is the simplest mark I can make that has some substance? Well, so I get a piece of paper out in my mind's eye and I take a ballpoint pen out, or an old ink pen, or a crayon, or a pencil, and poise above it. And there's the table, and there's the piece of paper, we'll say, chalkboard, but paper.
Okay.
And I'm above it. And the first thing I got to do when I make a mark is I'm going to put the pen, we'll call it, down on the paper before I move it anywhere. And guess what? I'm going to either leave it there forever, or move it around, or I'm going to pick it up. And if I pick it up, it has made a mark. And that is the simplest mark I could make with that device. And therefore, it is, to some extent, an alphabetic component of the universal language. All right? Now, if instead of picking it up, if I move it somewhere, I can only move it without changing the direction or something. I can only move it in one of a few ways. I can move it in a straight line or a curve. And then on greater cogitation, you realize, well, a straight line is actually a section of a huge curve. There are no straight anythings in the universe. So I can only move it in a section of a curve, or I can move it not just in a section of a curve, but I can move it in a complete curve that comes back on itself. So with this kind of thinking, it comes down to that you either make a mark or you don't. And if you make the mark and move it some direction, it will be in a curve, and if it's in a curve, it will either be in a uniform acceleration so that the curvature is all the same, or it will be accelerating where it's going faster when I started, or it's got to go slower and decelerating. And my God, those are distinct different kinds of marks. Those are good candidates. So you got a dot, you got a complete circle, you got a curvature, numbers of curvatures, and then if the curvature is not uniform, like a section of this circular curve, like a C, if it's a C, you could make it this way, set it all different ways, and see it inside out and so forth, right side out, inside out, and it'll have a certain meaning. But if you make the curvature be accelerated to like a plant growth, so crumpled up and then comes up, why, no matter how you put it, it will have a left or right-handedness to it, because no matter how you turn it, you can't make it look like the mirror image of it. And so mirror images and the mirror image reality is something grand that's unexplored. So anyhow, working that way, I've come up with basic symbols, and I've come up with a really good, useful number system, which is based on that, and I can try and describe that if you want.
Yeah, but I want to, before we go there, so what you're describing, is it two-dimensional or is it three-dimensional?
Well, that's a good point. So I'm saying the way you get at these things is you go little at a time, and you take bites of you got an elephant to eat or something, you take small bites, or I don't know what. That's not a very good simile. But if we're talking about drawing, I've lost track of where we are.
I think if we go where man is today in his acceptability, we have a flat surface.
Yeah.
So we end up with like a flat reality.
Okay. Yeah.
One-dimensional.
So we'll start with.
But if you go to the stage we're entering, where we have, what do you call those, drones?
Satellites and things in the air.
That kind of thing, where you're above something, well then you can have it in space. It's not on a flat surface anymore.
Yeah.
So then it changes our perspective, and we can be below it, next to it, or above it.
Yeah.
And that changes our perspective.
Yes. Okay.
So I think, what he's
Good.
saying is it's evolving.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you the simplicity of it. You can see it. This is what I call the universal number system.
Yes.
And the first thing, we only have about 4 symbols in it. We got a dot, a small curve, a straight line, and a circle. How many was that?
4.
4? Okay. So right now in our language, we use a circle to depict nothing. So I'm going to not use that. If I put my hand like a cup, if I hold my hand like a cup and put something in it, and then I turn it upside down, I empty it.
Yeah.
So there is some intellectual kind of a connection to what emptiness could be. That could be a pretty good symbol for nothingness.
Yeah.
So I've chose a small curve for 0. Now, for 1, you use a simple one that we now use. You got the pen, you just make a straight line. You can make it, we could make it so it's of any angle, but we just make it just a straight line for 1.
Yeah.
For 2, we disregard the alphabet and the fact that there's A, B, C, and that there's the letter V. We simply move our pen down, and then we move it up again, and we make it like a V shape. That's 2. For 3, you make a little lightning bolt, which is 1, 2, 3. Just voot, voot, voot.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay. For 4, instead of making 4 things, you make what we have called a plus. You just make 2 lines, that cross. And that gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 legs,
Yeah.
Okay, now we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. For 5, we use our killer diller circle. And
Oh, we could see it over there.
Oh,
Yeah. This
okay.
so 5 is the circle. Now what is 6?
6 would be the circle and the upside down curve.
Okay, now the upside down curve is 0.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So for 6 is 5 and 1.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
So you make 6, 5, and 1, and you can draw it. If as I'm drawing it, I go all around like this. I start at the top, come around, and back up, and then I come down.
Okay. Yeah.
7, you come around. It's 5 and 2, and you go 2.
Yeah. I see. She's drawing it on the board.
Exactly. 8, you come around, and you come 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
And 9, you come all the way around and down and across that, and you got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Okay, now then, so what is 10? Well, 10 is in our language is where we use another column. So 10 is simply a 1 and an upside down curve.
Okay.
And 100 is a 1 and a curve, upside down curve, and another is 0. These are, see, 0 has, we're
So it used to saying 0,
You're
but it's
emptying the
a
cup.
real 0, yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
not the English 0. See, but this new symbol for emptiness.
yeah.
Okay. Now these numbers, I had a situation where it was late at night. I had a room key that said 6. I went to room 6 and putting it in the door, and somebody goes, "Hey, some guy inside there is yelling at me." 'Cause it's a 9, see?
Okay.
But in this situation, a 6 is a circle with a 1 in it, and the 9 is a circle with a 4 in it. Now, from the satellite, not only would this system work up and down and upside down, but it works backwards and inside out as well.
Yeah.
6 never looks like a 9, And a 3 doesn't look like a M or a W or, well, I'm a little off myself there. Now it gets to addition and subtraction and multiplication, and that really gets easy. If, Marcia, you have a board out there, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So,
This down?
well, Manny, so what is your phone number? And Marcia, let's see you write the phone number down.
Okay. I'm not going to give the area code.
Go
but,
ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. You know what? 619.
Hold it.
Okay. So in the 6, when you draw the circle and the one,
yeah.
the 1, is the 1 going all the way across?
It's up to you and it's up to everybody because there's
Oh.
not enough. There's only 100 people have ever seen anything like this.
Wow. Okay. All right. So
And so-
6.
I mean, you can do this,
Yeah. So you make it.
but see, then that sort of changes it so that it looks like you got 2 halves.
You would make it easy on yourself. See.
No, whatever.
Okay.
So just a short thing.
So 619, and the 1 doesn't have to be top to bottom. It
No,
could be slant. It
it's
could be
just-
anything.
It's just a small one.
Okay.
But vertical, so it's kind of slanted.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and then the 9, it's the circle with the plus in the middle.
That's
or,
right. With the
Yeah.
4 legs.
5
yeah,
and
the
4.
4 legs.
And then your next number.
788.
Okay. Now watch your draw that then. I can't see what's going on. So.
Okay. So it could be.
How are you doing?
Well, the 7 doesn't have the circle, right? 7 is just 2.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7.
No, a 7 is the circle.
Oh, okay.
See, that holds it. So
That's
got
5.
and so you're actually adding.
That's okay. You're right.
See,
Okay.
and literally it's 5 and 2.
Yes. Okay. 7, 8, 8. 2, 4, 5, 6 are my last
Have
four.
we got the 8/8s in there?
Yeah, the 8/8s are circles with the lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt there, yeah.
4.
2, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Okay, so there's my phone number in the new numeric
Right.
And so
symbols.
this could be up on that side, but it shows you that you've got a container of 5 with a 1 in it.
So
That's 6. That has 3 lines in it. That's 8. 2.
So it doesn't matter which direction, which angle, how you look at it. It's still.
I mean, when he first did it, he's got it's done very nicely, so it's very uniform.
But it doesn't have to be.
But after
Correct.
you've learned it, you're just writing fast. And so-
Because you got to write down your password, your number on your on my credit card. When I could still see, I would put that little number. What's that one?
The CVC code, the secret code.
Yeah, I'd write the secret code right on my credit card because I'm the only one could knows what it is.
I still do that.
What?
Oh, good.
Awesome. So on the board right now is my phone number. That's amazing.
Now let's look at this. Now let's turn to whatever the thing is sideways.
Oh,
And now you can still, or upside down. Let's see, upside down even.
Okay, let's put it this way because I was writing from that direction. So you have to read it down, come back up.
But the point is that even though you might be reading it from another direction or something, that you can recognize each of the symbols.
I can recognize each of the symbols, and if I am told, okay, you're going to read it from
Yes.
from left
to right.
left
Right.
down.
Or right side down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to make sure you have that.
So if I'm given that, then
Gotcha.
I would still be able to understand it, because even though
Yep.
you didn't have to turn the symbols
say-
themselves either.
Exactly.
It's like here, okay, here's the problem. What's the answer if they're all added together? So you can go this way. So you got 5, 10, 14, 15, 16. Okay? And then this one is 10, 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then this one here is
I see what you're
4,
doing.
5, 6, 7, 17.
So just by
And if you go this way, you're going to get these numbers over here that are going to equal those numbers.
so just at a glance, you can kind of get a feel for what you got there. And upside down and inside out, you can see it.
Yeah.
And then if you are back in grade school, back when you had to, they'd give you 5 or 6 digit wide numbers, and they maybe give you 7 or 8 of them, and then you have to add them up, and carry and all this stuff. Well, it gets really easy because as you go down the column, right away you start picking out those things that are worth 5, the circles.
Yeah, which are easy to spot.
That's right. And then the 3s and the 2s, you start making them into 5s.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
then the 4s and the 1s, you start making into 5s. So in a very short time, you start getting 5 base thinking, and you start doing it like that, So this is a revelation. This is a gift from creation that's been coming through me because I've been teasing at it and pulling at it and trying to work at it and studying it and praying for it, and this thing has come out. Now, I'm an excited guy.
Yeah, it's a base 5 symbol math numbers.
Manny,
I don't know. Can I call them numbers?
I'm very glad to know you, Manny.
Symbols.
Manny, you are a gift. You are a gift to my world.
Well, I tell you what, I'm
Buddy, man.
I'm excited because this is something cool and new, and it's pretty awesome that.
Well, your question is bringing it around,
Well, I'm glad you're sharing this with us.
Sure.
I really like seeing that on the board. Do you mind putting some extra numbers on there?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you to write a number here.
I can. If you say the number, I can describe the symbols from left to right.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna give you. I'm gonna give you the thing. Have Marcia draw it, and then you guess what it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
About.
Yeah. That sounds.
Okay, so Marcia, if you would make from left to right, a few of them. We're gonna make the lightning bolt. I don't know if
She's got it.
Okay, I need to hear it. And then put a decimal point in there. The decimal point was a wonderful invention. We keep it.
Okay.
And then put just a small vertical line.
I already know what this number is.
Okay.
3.14.
That's
so,
right.
So the 4 legs. Yeah.
3.14159.
Oh, that's all I got.
That's pi. See.
Yeah.
So I had made a little kind of a thing. I said I like, and then I wrote the number as for students to kind of get this. I don't know where I wrote it. I don't know where things are anymore that I've written.
Well, they're in boxes.
Okay, so there's pi, and then you could write phi and whatever those are those are the numbers. And okay, now let's say you want to write a million. You want to write a billion.
So a billion would be, let's see, so billion, 3, 6, 9, 12. So it'd be a straight line with 12 half circles.
That's right. And after you did it for a while and you got a little lazier, you would just put those 3 little upside down things. You go dung dung dung.
Yeah.
You just make them together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
See.
That's amazing. So that's
now let's say you're back for a pass. You're the quarterback. You're John. What's the guy's name?
Quarterback.
What's that guy? Big guy.
Arnett?
No, the big guy of. That's now not the coach anymore. That used to. Denver Broncos.
Elway?
John Elway's back,
Okay, John Elway.
Now just picture his jersey with the 7 on it, right?
Yeah.
So instead, have that jersey, draw that jersey in that kind of type style.
Yeah.
With its circle and the thing there. So this is the beginning of a clothing dynasty. Somebody's got to make clothing like this that's got the universal numbers system. This is not trademarked. This is not patented. This is future stuff given to the world through us. And baseball, basketball, soccer, everybody with a number on their jersey. Let's say that you show up at the mall with your number 52, and you got the old-fashioned football numbers jersey, see? Well, they can see that you're going to get some attention for that. I mean, But you show up with the new numbers on a jersey that's definitely a sports jersey, and they're going to ask, what is that?
Yeah, no, I'm actually kind of excited. I hope I live to see the day that a base 5 symbol numeric system comes into place, and I can say, oh, you know what?
Right.
In fact, I actually heard about
you
this.
Help make it come.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
When you look at the Persian language, they write.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sending out some sales pitches.
They write this way.
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of stuff is like this.
A lot of stuff pretty good, pretty close.
Yeah.
But when they get past 3, it's nothing's working.
Okay.
None of them are working.
Why would somebody change, let's say, the metric system, the base 10,
mathematics to a base 5.
Well, that's another topic.
Yeah, I mean, that will eventually work its way out,
Yeah.
whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean,
So then, man will create another symbology.
well, yeah. There's symbols before that. So yeah, I mean, it's a evolution, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now the alphabetic letters that I've come up with I'm not very sure about them. They are simply based on the fact that there are simple depictions, simple symbols.
Where are you getting these ideas?
And a complex symbol is something where your pen changes direction or changes, if it's all uniform, like in a curve or a spiral or something. But if you then change direction, another curvature, why, you've said something else. You've asked that question, where did it come from? And it's also in there with the questions like, what was the date of that? So,
Yeah.
well, my mind, Manny, doesn't really give much respect to that, because I've been babysat through grammar school and high school and college with these questions that I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to remember that. And the questions are asked because it's easy to ask the question and grade the paper.
Yeah.
It's not that 1492, the date that this guy, Columbus, named the continent that was discovered by America Vespucian, discovers it. It's like when what's his name discovers Hawaii. Well, no, the Hawaiians discovered Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's like there's a, and I miss saying it. Man is a mine of inestimable gems. So if you look at all the minerals and gems, so our mind is not simple. There's so many different things we're capable of. And if you look at the scripts around the world, and I remember when Tom was doing this, he was studying all these different languages. He'd go to all these different countries' scripts, the Chinese and all that. You know, the Chinese get into, the symbol of man, And
the Romans were pretty good,
And so eventually something that is not super complicated will manifest itself. But again, there's
And you would
much.
You would need that to make it universal, or
that's right.
Because
so it'll come about gradually, and it's just one more thing of interest, kind of, for some people.
Oh yeah, no.
Well, the other thing is we have a lot of dialects and languages. Okay.
Yeah.
Thousands of them. Part of what we've got all these different. This is the languages of today.
Yeah.
So now mankind, who's on this little teeny fuzzy ball, will figure something that is universal, that's more simple. It's not going to be chaotic, but everybody learns that.
Yeah.
And people are saying, well, it's going to be English, it's going to be that, but I think it's going to be something new.
I'm going to go to your question then. You wanted 4 things, right?
3 things, but we can go 4. You're at 2. We had the impeller. We had the new symbolic numeric system.
Okay.
And alphabet. And number 3.
Now I'm going to go with what could be capitalized on right away. This is a very good commercial thing right away.
Yeah.
It has to do with the flying saucers and the impeller and a device I built. So let's just go to the umbrella.
Okay.
Before I got in at age in 1947, I'm 35, I'm 12. I'm 12 years old, and I'm working at Chippewa beach stand in Main Beach, Laguna. And we rented out surf mats, and we rented out umbrellas. And we kids would go put the umbrella in the sand, and then we'd get a little tip or something, you know.
Yeah.
Now, every kid that's ever been near an umbrella comes up with the idea of jumping off the roof or jumping off something and seeing if he can slow down with an umbrella, right?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull this mic closer.
They come up with using the umbrella to reduce your speed, to induce some drag, and make it so you don't break your legs. Well, then there's a picture of Hobie's, the Hobie book that was sold at like $50 a copy at Hobie's Memorial. And on it is a picture of Hobie on not a stand-up paddleboard because they didn't have them then, but it was just a big tandem board at San Onofre, and he's got an umbrella out there and he's heading out to sea.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that we go to Costco and you're walking there and you got warm. There's some heat coming from someplace. Well, it's coming from a parabolic mirrored, inexpensive parabolic mirror heat radiant heater across the room.
Okay.
Now, if instead of where the heater is, if you put an impeller there that's blowing air into the underside of the umbrella, why that air then will go all the way from the umbrella out across a big distance. It's a way to focus, or to take something that's not, is to bring something into focus or take it from a focus to the other thing there. So. So now for a flying device, let's say that we have an umbrella, but without the curve in the handle. It's just a straight shaft, and we spin it. We build a little device to spin it up, or like you've done with a cocktail umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah.
A cocktail umbrella will take off, you know. That's because those little pieces of wood that are above the tissue paper are knocking the air off from directly above the tissue paper, and the air pressure below is greater and blows that umbrella up into it a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Now, if you scale that up to the size of an umbrella with all of its ribs and bumpy surfaces, and you spin that around, the air that was trying to stay on top of it is ever knocked off as it's spinning, and any air that's on the underside is flung to the exterior and down, and therefore is lifting this umbrella up.
Yeah.
And so if you have a spinning umbrella, you're going to get some lift from it. Now, let's take the other side of that thing. And this is a good thing. How does Tom Morey's brain work? It kind of works like this. There's a song that says, was in my day, it says, that's either this has got to be this or that. Benny Goodman sings it. If it ain't hot, it's cold. If it ain't right, it's wrong. Da 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 da. Okay, so that kind of got our minds into it's either one. It's got to be this or that. It's got to be one thing or the other. And we've been brought up in that heaven and hell, good and bad reality. Now this prisoner, this guy Baha'u'llah, is prisoner for some 40 years, prison or exile. He says that now we give you 7 times 7 rather than one or two, rather than yay or boo, black and white. See, there are a lot of ways to skin the cat. He's saying that's kind of good that it's on or off, but there's a lot of ways to do these things.
Oh.
So now we go back to the umbrella, and you go buy an umbrella. You probably don't own an umbrella because you're gonna go sit under something when you go to the beach. You don't. Now that if you're married, now you got kids and stuff, you got the beach chair and the umbrella and all that.
Yeah.
But there was a time we would be seen in a beach chair. We wouldn't have come to the beach with an umbrella or a towel or our own wax or anything. You know, it's not surfing. It's like in a wetsuit and your shoe, all this stuff. So anyhow, if you have a heater, if you have an umbrella, and at that focal point on the underside of the umbrella, if you put an impeller in there, you've got to be able to get some forward thrust from it. If you had the umbrella and the impeller under it, and then you tip it sideways and you get on your skateboard, it's got to scoot you along, right?
Yeah.
Or if you take that off and you put the heater on there, you're going to get heat. Or if you take the heater or that off and you put a fan in there, and you're sitting in the shade, and you're going to have an impeller giving you coolness, right?
Yeah.
And then available today, like no other day, is solar-powered fabric.
Yeah.
So you got an umbrella, and it does the job. But if it gets really hot, while you turn on you're garnering power from your solar fabric, and you can be storing it in your C or AA or whatever size flashlight batteries that are down in the hollow shaft that you then use to drive your heater to give you a little bit of heat, or that you use to give you a little propulsion. Not knowing where these things are going to go, my mind explores it because because of the teachings, it's better to light one candle than curse the darkness. It also tells me that just because I don't know where I'm going doesn't mean I shouldn't walk.
Yeah, yeah.
I am a toddler and have gotten pretty damn good at toddling along, but I'm not giving it up, you know?
Yeah.
That's how we get someplace. And there was a limiting statement that was a smart-ass statement that the teachers and the older kids would all use, and that's like, Manny, do it right the first time now. Whatever it is, you're supposed to do it right the first time. How the hell does anybody do anything right the first time?
Exactly.
After you practice a lot, maybe you can get to Times Square, you can get up to the concert stage, but without practice, you gotta.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody who's done it right the first time.
No.
How about your mother's statement about?
So then the umbrella then. So with an umbrella, you can get shade and you can get conductive. You can get. You can get conductive fibers. You can get solar power, and you can get some propulsion from it, and you can have the inside of your umbrella be cool from the fan, or it can be hotter from the heater. Pretty neat thing to not have overlooked for some dumb reason, and not have. It's a pretty neat thing to have.
So essentially, you just described something that is its own sustainable energy propulsion system.
That's right.
That is.
That's right.
There for the taking, and nobody's jumped on it.
That's right. And not bad if you're a homeless person.
Yeah.
And then you shape the outside of the umbrellas so it would merge up nicely with some other people with umbrellas, and you figure out how to drain the rain off from those things into some common catch tank and get the water from it. And we start learning how to commune without buying a $800,000 house
Yeah.
The cheapest house in Laguna Beach is $1.2 million.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and you go up to some places, a low rent place, it's 300 or 200,000, and people don't know how to add and subtract anymore or figure any of this stuff out. They just buy it and they get upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of those things that it seems like right in the near future, all of this stuff is kind of exciting.
So there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
And Marcia's got her.
Marcia, you want to come back to the microphone and give us some info on the what Mike Stewart and just I want to get it out there just while we're at it.
Melinda,
yes, Stewart.
I think it's kind of wrapped up, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it has been?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, it's still going.
I can go in with another invention. It's one of my pets. That's good.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't want to really go there.
Okay, you know what? I will go there and I'll do it.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, yeah.
So, as an inventor, what do they say? What do they say about these inventors? Well, they're going to try and reinvent the wheel, as if that couldn't be done. You know. Now, in my world, which is surfing, I look at surfing where it's going, and I look at Costco, and I look at the buyers and where the market is, because I'm a shark in that area. You know, I want a product that sells. You know, so it used to be that they'd go into the Costco. I would never do this. But the women would come out of there, would go right over and get one of those giant carts that are close to the floor, and they could put a lot of stuff on there, and they'd come out of there with $2,000 or $3,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? What does that have to do with what I'm talking about here?
Your next invention.
Oh, okay. So then comes the stand-up paddleboard. Well, the guys bought those for a while, but they're expensive, and it's a beginner deal. And if you really want to do it, you don't need quite as big as Costco's got. But no matter what, the women have really embraced stand-up paddling. Mm-hmm. Now, you may stand there on the beach, Manny. I've never seen you do this. You may stand there with your wetsuit on, and which is holding your body in beautiful stead, you know.
Yeah.
It's silhouetted and it's got muscles.
Yeah.
But the female species is a little more of a see my body, see this beautiful thing. That
You better be careful.
I think I'm on the wrong. See this thing. And they buy.
Going across the airwaves, darling.
Yeah.
And they buy.
Keep yourself safe.
And they buy the stuff. Well, no, it's because that's what they do. We're shopping for women all the time when we're younger, and the women are on display because they are the commodity that we're going to hook up with, embrace. You know,
They want to look
at their best.
They want to look good, and men want to look good too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
That's
you wanna
right.
look good too.
Yeah.
So what does this have to do with this
Think you
cart full of
just
stuff?
Go
It has to do.
away from this.
It has to do with the stand-up paddleboard. Is there a beautiful display item there in that stand-up paddleboard, or what? I mean, is that essential to? If you've got a nice body and you're got to put on your skimpy bathing suit and be seen, then you get out there and you stand up on that thing and you putt around with your paddle.
I'm sorry, but you're way out of line.
I'm way out of line. Okay.
You are.
Okay.
That is not.
Well, here's why I'm going. Here's why.
Okay. Let's bring it back to the invention.
The woman has to deal with the big stand-up paddleboard, and she's got to carry it or move it there. So it should have wheels. It should be able to take it off. It should have twin wheels in the back that are slightly canted, just like your twin Skags are, or maybe just one wheel, the economy version. But you got your wheels that are in the back, and they're not heavy with tires and steel because you're not going to drive the thing to New York or something. You're simply going to drag it across the beach or across the parking lot to your car, and then you got to put it up on the car. And these boards should have wheels. Now the wheels should and will replace the skag. No matter how beautifully we can shape a skag, if you would allow it to rotate from a pin, it will rotate out of the water flow.
Is this somewhere written down and patented under your name? Because that's a brilliant idea.
It's brilliant, and I've done my thing. That's number 3. I don't patent. I'm not going to try and patent that which is not mine. And these things are not from me. Me is the guy that goes to sleep and eats hamburgers or something. These are revelations of the time.
We're all antennas.
Yeah.
And, even the patent office will tell you, you have an idea, but you need to patent it because there's 10 other guys out there who've already also had that vision that's come to them through their antenna.
Okay.
But the reality is there's going to be a lot of people that come up with these ideas, and the whole idea of this is mine and protecting. If you've got something that's for the benefit of mankind, you need to share it with everybody so that they start making it because it's for the benefit instead of hoarding it for some
And here's how it works for you.
real commodity.
Yeah.
So if I have an invention, I call up the Orange County Register. It used to be the Santa Ana Register. Now it's got a circulation of 3 million people, maybe 7 million. And they send out, if I call up and give them a little bit of a convincing story, they'll send out a reporter and a photographer. Mm-hmm. If you're just they will with me because I got a reputation. And like anything else, you got to kind of build up to wherever you're going to be.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, if you got a good idea, you call the newspaper, they send out the press. Press comes down, they have a chance to write a story up and publish it because there's not that much news to go in a newspaper these days because people are not really reading newspapers.
Yeah.
So there it is now in print, and 7 million people read it. Now let's say that 1,000 people of the 7 million go, wow, that is a cool idea. I'd like to do that. Of that 1,000 people, how many are going to go ahead and do it after they consider, A, that the inventor's already taken it this far, and probably he's not stupid, he's probably not finished, he's probably going to take it further, and B, if I jump on that bandwagon, not only am I going to be behind him or her, but everyone else of the 7 million people that's read this article might also do it.
Yeah.
And I got all that competition, and why should I do that when in this day and age, Manny, there are so many incredible things that can be done.
And when he sold the boogie business, he encouraged all of his workers to make the boards.
That's right.
Yeah.
And put their name on it. And then,
And how many did that?
Well, Bobby Sabad was the first guy,
Okay.
and then Rick Broderson was another employee.
And he went to New Zealand to do that, right?
That's right, and he figured out another whole new way to manufacture them with saws. And then little Debbie Colwell, who
Yeah.
was back
and Mike Stewart.
in the shrink
Jake
department.
Will.
Mike Stewart was still like 8 years old or something.
No, he was not.
Well,
He was young. He was younger.
he was pretty young. This is 75.
Do we know the name of the company in New Zealand that was formed?
Oh, just Rick Broderson. It was Broderson.
Okay. Okay.
And
He just knew his name.
And so Debbie was working in the shrink wrap department. She was just doing shrink wrap, and then she was cutting skins, and then she was like, it's like working at Costco or something. Everybody does every job eventually, and pretty soon she's running the heat laminator, and she's looking at the heat laminator, and she's looking at the process, and she's heat welding skins, and she's she's good.
Yeah.
She's got something she can do, and she's conscientious, and she's there, and she's part of the team. It's a good thing. It's a great thing.
The whole shipping outfit was in another structure, and it was run by the Zabad family.
Wow.
All the aunties.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about that because I know the story. Why was these boards the size they were?
Oh, well, we're shipping them, and of course, you go to the post office and you ask the guy, "Can I ship this?" And he pulls out his chain and he says, "No, it's too big." Well, that's after not even thinking about going to the post office, just calling a trucker. It's just everybody's so smart, they figure out, well, they're not going to ship a package like that big. That's too big. So for a long time, we were just shipping through trucking companies.
Okay.
And then one day at the post office, asked, "Can I ship this? Can I mail this?" I was loath to say the word mail it because mail is these little letters,
Yeah.
So I probably said, "Well, what does this cost?" And the woman looked at me and says, "Oh, it's too big." So then I go, "Well, how big is not too big?" She says, "Well, 108 inches length and girth." Well, what does that mean? What does girth mean?
Yes.
So she says, "Oh," here she gets the chain out, and wraps it, takes the length, and then wraps it around the middle, or one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
And if it exceeds 108 inches, it's too big. So, So I fiddle around with the chain or something, and
Dimensions.
and the dimensions and the length. I go right away. I go, well, I'm not going to make them narrower. I can just make them shorter. I don't really believe in making them 4 feet long anyhow. I still got extra material. I didn't. 4.5 feet seemed too long. Half of 9 feet, which is the plank size.
Yeah.
And I go, well, So I took the dimensions in a boogie board and home and fiddled around and finally found out that if I make them 42.5 inches long and 22 inches wide, that comes out 4 of them in a package. Comes out under 108 inches length and girth. And I can ship 4 boogie boards from LA to Puerto Rico in a package. And I think it was about $3.50 or something.
Well, there was a hang-up. If you went to the regular post office,
Right.
they wouldn't ship it. So we had to find a 4th class post office.
3rd class. Yeah.
3rd class?
Yeah.
A 3rd class post office.
Wow.
And that was in Bonsall.
No.
I drove to Bonsall for a long
100
time.
times taking
Oh
carloads.
my gosh! From
did-
Oceanside, no, from
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad,
Yeah.
on the 76, which was a 2-lane road.
Back roads
Yeah.
too.
And we didn't have a truck for most of the time. We
Yeah,
just.
this was in my
But
car.
you can get a lot of boogies in a car. Especially if they're only that size. See.
That was in the beginning. Then they went to shipping and taking and loading them on he bought a pickup truck
Oh,
and
yeah.
he made a big flat bed and then he made this triangular thing.
That's another 2 things.
And then
Yeah.
he would strap it a certain way and he could load that up with all the boogies and take them up to a trucking company.
Do you have photos of that somewhere?
There are. They're
in that
But you gotta go.
boxes.
You can paw through them and you can figure it out and you can use some of them.
Awesome.
But we're not. We're beyond pawing through all this stuff and giving it to everybody.
They're on the list of
Okay.
Yeah, it's
where
just
we're
too much.
going. Right now we're working on getting Tom's eyes back up.
That's right.
Okay.
And we're so thankful for the help we've had.
Awesome. Well, I will mention something
that's-
on my own out to the side.
So
But yeah, again, thanks for taking the time.
what I need,
Yeah.
what I want, we've that funding thing's taking care of my health and it's got a lot of health insurance and all that, and I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
But I want participants. I don't want to just fade away. I'm a lot smarter than I was yesterday. You know, I'm going into my 83rd year. I'm a third of the way into it. And I'm just a hell of a lot smarter than I was when I was 82.
Nice.
And I need help. I need a secretary that's a real secretary, and I need a real CEO, and I need real conscientious people who are not there to climb up the ladder so much as they are to serve the endeavor, to serve
The vision.
the vision. That's right.
Yeah.
I need those people. We need those people. The visions need these people.
Yeah.
And I've seen these things go good and then kind of go sideways and then really good, like, I don't know if it's Google or Apple or IBM, but that funded the determination of the human genome, which is what are the tiny particles that make up the DNA, RNA, all that stuff that make up the human, that are the tinker toy blocks of life, and they have been discovered.
Yeah. I want to say it was Google, but I don't know.
Probably was.
No,
At the cost of billions of dollars, but done in a time period that was far shorter than projected.
Yeah.
And we are on the edge of long life and perfect bodies and all this other huge possibilities, you know. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm excited just looking at the whiteboard across the way with the numbers.
Good.
The pie is still up there.
Good.
But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
And I mean, I'm always available. If we don't do it through face to face, we can always call in. And
I've got another 10 inventions things to go on, you know.
Okay, well,
If you want.
yeah, go for
In
it.
fact, I didn't finish with the skag wheel.
Oh yeah, I
Let
interrupted.
me give you the answers.
Yes.
The National Human Genome Research Institute is a Department of Health and Human Services and the Office of Science, U.S. Department of Energy.
Wow.
All right, so the funding.
DEO, or DOE, excuse me.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so the skag wheel.
Yes. Sorry, I interrupted.
So I dreamed it up, talked it up, and then built it with our son Moon, and then our son Matt surfed it at Trestles and reported on it. How's it work, man? He says, cool, man. First thing I noticed is paddling out at lowers, or uppers, whatever. I immediately went over a giant blob of kelp.
Yeah.
I just rolled over that, you know. Wow. Because there's a wheel hanging down there. So let's say it's a 10-inch wheel, and the board is 2.5 inches back there. Yeah. I can't run through these numbers, but they got 5 or 6 inches, 7 inches of skag wheel in the water. And you have a few inches up above on the deck. And what's needed is a little foam fender that covers that up.
Yeah.
And that thing becomes kind of a place where you can put your foot and push around also. Depends how that's made. Anyhow, he went out there and he rolled over the kelp, and then he made a turn, and he noticed that after he made the turn, the wheel was still kind of rolling. He got a little help from that, and as he took the drop, he could feel the wheel coming around, and then as he went into a turn, he could feel that the wheel was still spinning. You know.
Whoa. Yeah.
Now that wheel could be made with weights in it, or could be made so you could add water or add sand, or could have textures on the side. You know, when you got long hair and you come out of the water and you come out a certain way, and your hair, I did something. Your hair will helmet head, you know, it'll cling.
Yeah.
Or if you go the other way, it's a kapakai. So the wheel, like your buffing pads
Yeah.
for your car buffer, you know. So when that thing's spinning being spun by the water, it's then sticking out, so the hairs are sticking out, so it grabs and gives you some propulsion. But when it's spinning against the stream, then it slicks back. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done. And the boards could have more than one skag, and these skags could be motorized, and that spinning with some weight in there could give it gyroscopic stability such as we've never experienced. So this is a major deal.
Massive, yeah.
So when you ask, well, how about patenting that one or something? Well, hell, what am I got it? What for?
Yeah, yeah.
I've got her, and she's and the kids. The kids are out there doing their own stuff. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And we're getting along. But I want to build these things, and they could make some money, good money. And I figured out that some really slick ways to put that in the board, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have to be refined, and money has to be used to build the tooling and all that, and then it has to be sold. But where I am on the skag, I also have been fortunate to be the revealer of the skag industry, whereas the first removable skag was from George Downing in Hawaii, a koa fin and a koa box.
Oh.
And it came out of, George told me it came out in his takeoff at Haleiwa, you know, and he went ass over a tea kettle.
Oh no.
And that came down through Hobie, and the guys were making wooden skag boxes and putting wood skags in them and putting popsicle sticks and newspaper and stuff to keep it wedged in there. And then another guy built a $50 retail surfboard, the Malibu, a foam board, and he had a whole tail block that was injection molded polyethylene and skag, with the tail block and the skag.
Oh,
Those
wow.
things were the precursors. And then a guy at Malibu, Kenny Price, cut out a dozen skags, all different shapes, with 2 holes in them, and he had shelf brackets on the back of his board with a hole through it so that he could bolt these skags on there. And I had the chance, he was my friend, and I got to ride this and see the importance of the skag. So those things got me into using my first wife's cutting board, polypropylene 3/8-inch polypropylene cutting board, and making the first removable skags that I built from that, and then developing a tool so that you could push a tool to stuff fiberglass into a hole, a routed hole, and then build skags that went in there with dimples in them so you could resin them in, and then little devices that clamped them in there, and then the thing called the Wonderbolt.
Yes.
All this. Do you know the Wonderbolt?
Yeah.
Well, Dewey Weber was one of my best customers, and I used to ride for Dewey. And I said, I want to sell you a couple thousand of these things. And he bought 1,000 Wonderbolts and skags for his deal.
Whoa.
And then before I got my product out, he came out with a 2-page ad featuring his skag and the Weber Wonderbolt.
Oh, oh
which
no.
I laughed at. I didn't care.
Yeah.
He's buying them from me. I don't care.
Yeah, you're right.
And then eventually you had Bainey do the whole thing, right?
Well, Bain is no dummy. Bain sees the writing on the wall. Bain and Bain, Bob and Bill, they're coming home itchy every night. You know, they're cutting out fiberglass skags, man.
Yeah.
And they saw that, and they developed their own system. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all good stuff.
So he sort of gave that one away.
Yeah.
Well, we had what happened is we got put out of business by Bonsai Pipeline. We were stressing the beauty of the flexibility, which would snap you back out of the turn. You'd snap out, and it did some cool things.
Yeah.
And we had a great photograph of Corky Carroll, who was a U.S. champion and was riding our skags, and we doing this thing. But then Jerry Lopez and those guys started recognizing that when you're riding Bonsai Pipeline You don't want to have to deal with some X factor. You're in a life and death situation with rocks that can hurt parts of you and can
Yes.
kill you.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be wobbling when you should be wiggling, you know. So a fiberglass skag, fiberglass to the board, that became the standard fare, and that that whole thing died out for a long time. But then it came back, and to this day now, removable skags of various systems are in every surf shop. Hundreds of dollars worth of skags at a minimum,
Yeah.
and tens of thousands of dollars worth of skags in many shops.
Yeah. No. And that was before Jerry Lopez and the crew started fiberglassing them in.
Yeah.
Well, they had all been
They've all
fiberglassed,
been fiberglass.
but those guys, Lopez and those guys, saw the sense of it. And what's his name? The surfboard maker my age over there, what's it? Brewer.
Oh, dear.
And that's what Brewer was using, and who knows who did what, but that put that on hold for a while, but now it's
Everywhere.
back. It's back everywhere.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the commercial value, you got a surf shop and you can only stack their boards so close because the skag's in the way.
Yeah.
And you got to cube the surfboard dimensions to ship them by air, and so they cost you more.
Yeah.
Get rid of that skag. So that was a big deal, and we made I made plenty of money on that thing. I bought the home in Hawaii. That got us going.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
a previous incarnation.
Well, I mean,
It's good to have that recorded
yeah,
because he's never completed that.
Is he recording this?
Oh yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
yeah. We've been recording.
That's been great.
No, this has been amazing. And let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and sign off and say goodnight.
Okay.
Is that cool? I need to have a couple bites of pineapple
Oh, okay.
and use the restroom.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be back to sign off.
All right. Okay, good.
Cool.
Well, Manny, you showed up with really equipment that works.
Take those.
You're the first interviewer that's had really good equipment.
Well, I mean, for me, it's the audio, and then we are recording video too.
This one.
You know, there's a guy, and do you get to Maui?
Yes, I've been to Maui.
Do you know Dreaming Bear?
Thank you very much for taking the time, you and Marcia, for opening your doors to me and my Boog Life patrons. And any last words? You have the mic.
Well, Manny, I've known you for decades, but I've never really gotten to know you very well at all. You know, we surfed together over there at
Hawaii.
Eikai or whatever that place is. And it was pretty good day there, and you've just done a great job of getting at me and getting into me, and I wish you all the best with what you're doing, and it's been a lot of fun, and I feel that we've accomplished some stuff that's important, and I think that what you've recorded will go some distance, and I just wish you all the best on your endeavor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No. I thank you for taking the time. I'm actually really excited about the bass, 5 bass numeric. I like that.
Well, it's 5 based and it's 10 base. See?
Oh, okay. I see it.
You know.
Okay, so. Yeah, that's the part I'm excited about.
Good.
All right. Well, like I said, if anything comes up that we think we may have, you know what, I will. If you say let's add some more things to it.
I do. Let's schedule another session.
Okay. Yeah.
And you name the time. Another.
Okay.
Next year.
Okay.
Because the next week or something will be full up.
Yeah. No.
How far away are you?
I am down in Cardiff.
Oh, okay.
So that's about 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah, okay.
That's not a bad drive.
Not a bad drive. Well, next time you're going to head this way, just give me a call, and in the meantime, I'll be thinking of the
Awesome
topics or something. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks again, Tom and Marcia. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
That was pretty awesome. All right, so we'll sign off and we'll see you on the next one. All right, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Adios.